3:19 remaining in the first half. Leonard Thompson gets his first touchdown toss of the year, and Eric Hipple throws his first of the year. That ties us up at 7-7. This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Cleveland Browns, the National Football League, or Leonard Thompson is prohibited. First touchdown passing this year.
That's amazing when you consider they're in the 4th game of the year.
Eddie Murray kicks it deep. They want to get it to McNeil, and they do. Gerald McNeil, 5'7", 143 pounds. Brings back to mind Supernet, Nolan Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Marty Schottenheimer thinks at some point this season he is going to return a kickoff back for the touchdown or the punt return. He's an exciting player. He's a backup wide receiver as well. Kozar likes him deep, too. You know, the Detroit scoring drive, I was really impressed. I credit that to Eric Hipple. Made some tremendous audibles, got his team picked up a couple of big 3rd down conversions, and then a beautifully timed pass to Thompson.
First down and 10, Cleveland. 3:10 to go in the half. Curtis Dickey in the lineup for Kevin Mack. Whoops, whistles, flags. May have been some motion in the interior line. Dick Hamtack will let us know.
Left guard.
False start. Offense. Number 74. Still first down.
That is Paul Farron, 4th-year man from Boston University.
Good offensive line the Cleveland Browns have. Big guys. Getting better. That man's getting better, too. Bernie Kozar.
Hard to believe he's only 22. Boy, he hurried home yesterday, I'll promise, to watch the Miami-Oklahoma football game. Said he had talked with Vinny Testaverde earlier this week. Dickey in motion. And let's try the right side this time. That'll be Cody Risen out of Texas A&M. And it'll be 1st and 20.
Now that can't be happening. It really should have been. And Risen is blaming himself. He just forgot the snap count. And most quarterbacks have different signals.
Still first down.
We talked to Eric Hipple about that, but if you don't know the line call, the snap count, a lineman will say, what's the snap count? And his partner usually will say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is the key for 1, 2, or 3, or something to that effect. Each some count or some code that they have. But that's 2 in a row.
And they haven't gotten to Thursday.
That's on 4, yeah.
Herman Fontenot comes into the lineup, number 28 for Cleveland, running back. 1st and 20. Kozar tipped. He went for Ozzie Newsome, the tight end. Ozzie, playing with a shoulder injury and an ankle injury, has a streak of 101 consecutive games in which he has caught a pass.
Ozzie really is one of the fine tight ends in the league. Kind of a funny stance as he tries to explode off the line, but you see the little swim move on his right arm, and he's very good at just finding a dead spot here. However, had he come back to the football a little bit there, I think he might have been able to make a catch. James Harrell, number 58 for the Lions defending.
3-time Pro Bowler. Went out in the 2nd half against Cincinnati last Thursday night. Said the ankle really bothers him. The shoulder's not so bad today. 2nd down and 20. Newsome. Incomplete. They go to him twice, trying to extend the string.
And Harrell does a nice job again of defending. I think one of the tight end is one of the most unique positions in football. It's one of my favorite positions because you have to be the kind of guy who can get downfield and be a receiver and get over the middle, but you also have to be physical and tough enough to come down and block on defensive ends and linebackers. Ozzie Newsome is one of the more successful ones.
Ozzie out of Alabama has caught 101 consecutive passes in games. Harold Carmichael with 127, and Steve Largent this afternoon may tie that. He's playing down in Washington. And Gray, Abramowitz, and Alfred Jenkins next in line. Kozar into the flat. Ernest Biner still on his feet, but will be caught 12 yards short of the first down.
The fans are booing because it was 3rd and forever and they dumped it off to the back, but you're going to get an interesting situation here. The Cleveland backs do a nice job of faking like they're going to go out of bounds, and then the defense kind of rests, and then they cut back in, particularly Ernest Biner. Now watch, he cuts right back in. He does this as well as anybody in the league, getting a couple, 2, 3, 4 more yards out of it than he ordinarily would.
Jeff Gossett on the punt. That is a dandy. Way up in the air. Pete Manley caught and dropped at the 20-yard line. D.D. Hoggard, number 48, was the first one down there. Eric Hipple is on a hot streak. He's hit 13 of 14 for 111. His team has 2:14 to go in the half.
I was one of the toughest drill instructors in the U.S. Marine Corps. I marched my men through mud, snow, and rain. And after I turned those cream puffs into Marines, I treated myself to the best beer in the U.S. of A. Miller Lite. Life's less filling. And this taste makes me proud to be an American. As for you guys out there who spent 10 of the toughest weeks of your lives with me, I got one thing to say. How come you don't write?
We're proud to say there's only one light beer, Miller Lite.
Let's face it, I have a big appetite for life, and I don't want anyone telling me how to live it. The world is my oyster. That's why I carry MasterCard. It opens up all the possibilities and puts me in the driver's seat. Imagine all of life's possibilities with the great one at the wheel.
No cazzo.
Thank you. MasterCard. Oh, sweet it is. MasterCard. Master the possibilities.
2:14 to go in the half. The Lions have the ball at their own 21-yard line. Hipple has been brilliant here in the first half. You can forget the debut he had 5 years ago on a Monday night against the Chicago Bears. Came off the bench, got his first start, rather, and hit 4 touchdowns in that game. Also scored 2 on the ground. Threw for over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns passing. There have been few more spectacular debuts ever since. But really, Pat, his career since that moment 5 years ago has been erratic.
Well, he has struggled some, but I don't think he's ever had the full confidence of his coaching staff. And it's very difficult to play the quarterback position like that. My years in L.A. were much like that, always looking over your shoulder. They drafted Chuck Long in the first round last year, so at some point he will be replaced, but he's an incredibly tough guy. He really is. He hangs in there, he picks himself up, and he's a tremendous competitor.
Despite throwing for over 300 yards last week and 31 completions, he was booed in that game. Pat and I asked him last night how he handled the booing. He said, all I do is go back to my locker and put another picture of my home in California up. Look at it and fantasize. James Jones for a couple.
But I do give Hipple some credit. When I was with the Rams, they brought every quarterback in the history of the game, Otto, Graham, Sidlock, and they brought them all back to compete with me. And Hipple has had much the same kind of career with Detroit.
I wondered what happened to your career. Oh, Unitas got you, huh? There's a 2-minute warning.
An idea doesn't conform to a 9-to-5 schedule. So at Hewlett-Packard, we're always thinking. Because even though we sell business computing systems, what we really do is solve problems. We never stop asking, what if?
Jim, Mike, I've got an idea on that branch office network. What if you connect all the PCs?
Introducing Wendy's new Big Classic hamburger.
This is the good stuff.
The soft Kaiser bun, the fat tomatoes.
This is the good stuff.
The fresh toppings, the beef.
This is the good stuff.
Wendy's new Big Classic.
One bite, one taste, one look, you'll see. This is the one the other burgers want to be. This is the good stuff.
Wendy's new Big Classic.
Can't get enough. This is the good stuff.
When you're behind the wheel in LeBaron GTS, it's nice to know GTS excelled in handling in a U.S. Auto Club test, did 0 to 50 in 5.63 seconds, triumphed in braking, and gave BMW and Mercedes something they never expected, a driving lesson. GTS comes sensibly priced with Chrysler's protection plan. You don't drive LeBaron GTS the way USAC did, but it's nice to know you could. Chrysler, driving to be the best.
7-7 ball game. Lions have a 2nd down and 7 from their own 24-yard line. Coming up at halftime, we'll have Brent Musburger, Herb Cross, and Will McDonough with scores and highlights, and a feature story on William Andrews, a very touching story of a man who's come back. That story put together by Ann Butler, and an update on the instant replay poll. More than 91,000 of you have called in so far to register your vote on yes, you want to keep the replay as it is, yes, you like it but want it revised, or no, get rid of it. And Brent will update you on the results at halftime. 2nd down and 7. 7-7 ball game, and the Lions have all 3 timeouts left. Gary James scoots through for a 1st down out to the 34-yard line.
Well, Gary James, he was in the doghouse, but he's going to get himself out of it, work his way out of it, because he's played very well here in the 1st half. Caught a couple of balls, got outside once or twice, and made a nice little inside run there.
Well, the criticism has been that he's a bench-to-bench runner. He runs from Cleveland side to Detroit side and hasn't cut it upfield.
Well, part of that is he's had a stomach muscle pull, and that's a tough one. It's really tough to plant and get yourself upfield when you've got that muscle pull in the stomach.
A couple of upsets, and the 49ers. Marino has been intercepted 3 times in that game, by the way. And Minnesota all over Green Bay, 28-0.
Or San Francisco intercepted the Birds 7 times, too.
Yes. Hipple uses 1 of the 3. Didn't want to. Called timeout. Or no, it's a delay of game call. He didn't call timeout.
That should never happen. You should never have a delay of game call.
Offense.
Particularly in the last 2 minutes of the ball game.
2nd down.
Or a half.
Darrell Rogers getting some explanation of it, and he's not satisfied with the explanation, I can tell. So that cost them 5. It'll be 1st and 15 with 1:14 to go in the half. You came up with an interesting stat about Eddie Murray that we might put in the back of our minds in case he gets a field goal attempt.
He has 11 career field goals over 50 yards, which I really find remarkable.
So once they're down near the 35-yard line, if they get that far, keep Murray in the back of your mind. 1:14 to go. That was not a charged timeout, of course, because of the delay of game. Hipple, good protection. 1 hopper. And Eric Hipple is not pleased with the results of that.
Well, you know, sometimes that'll happen to a quarterback. He'll try to throw the ball 2 different plays. I think he was trying to throw the ball downfield to a wide receiver. Then the coverage kind of converged on that receiver. In the middle of the throw, he tried to get it out to Gary James.
There's Eddie Murray. 11 field goals in excess of 50 yards in his career.
He is a fine, fine kicker, believe me. Paul Lanham, again, the receiver coach, who is also a special teams coach, thinks he's one of the best.
2nd and 15, 7-7 game. They hand it off to Gary James and probably will use one of the timeouts now. Nope, no indication yet. Now they do.
2nd and 12 call, again, when you're faced with a bad 2nd and 12 in a nickel situation. We saw them earlier trying to get the ball to Herman Hunter. Would have been a perfect situation to try to get the ball to him, maybe 5 or 6 yards, give yourself a 3rd and 4 or 5, and then have a play. Now they're in 3rd and 13.
And they've got 1 minute to go in the 1st half. Chicago jumping on Cincinnati 21-7 in the 2nd quarter. And Seattle still leads Washington. That's the game in which Steve Largent is trying to tie Harold Carmichael's record. Buffalo over Kansas City 7-3. And Houston with an early lead over Pittsburgh 3-0 in the 2nd quarter.
Houston's a much improved team, I think, especially defensively.
And Pittsburgh is not.
They've had their problems. Isn't that amazing, all the championships they won, how things turn?
Well, they are really in a down cycle now. Marty Schottenheimer.
Well, Schottenheimer has had an interesting career. You know, in 1974, he was a player coach of in the World Football League, and then he was with the Giants, and then he came here in '80 to be the defensive coordinator.
Marty had an anonymous career as a player. He told a story. His first game as head coach here, I worked the game with Terry Bradshaw. We were talking with him on Saturday, and Marty looked at Terry and said, you know, I spent 6 weeks with you in the Steeler camp. You remember that? And Bradshaw looked right at Marty Schottenheimer and said, no, Marty, I don't remember you at all.
6 weeks, it's not a long career.
3rd down and 13. 7-7 game. Double coverage. Almost picked off. Felix Wright, number 22, in front of Carl Bland, who's back in the lineup.
A dangerous pass, a little bit late over the middle with 2 minutes left in the ball game, but they were faced with a 3rd and 13, so Hipple was trying to get the ball downfield enough to pick up the 1st down. Led the ball a little bit too far inside. Otherwise, Bland might have had a chance, but Felix Wright, number 22, just played center field, read the quarterback, and reacted to the ball.
That brings on a punting situation, and Mike Black is back to kick from the 16. Gerald McNeil waits for it.
You got time! You got time!
You heard somebody yell, "You've got time." He's heading in the wrong direction. Now he's not. And he's finally back to about the point at which he made the catch. Rob Rubik makes the tackle. 36-yard punt, 5 on the return.
You know, one of the great things about football is there are places for all sizes of players in this league. He is only 5'7", 146 pounds, but then you've got 300-pounders out there. You've got average-sized guys. So I think it's one of the few games where you can have all sorts of different sizes and shapes of people play and be successful.
He had a terrific career at Baylor University. Coming up at halftime, Brent Irvin Will with all the scores and highlights. We've got 42 seconds to go first half. Ball on the 38. First down, 7-7 ball game. Cleveland and Detroit playing here for the first time since 1970. Right side, Reggie Langhorne makes his first catch of the day and is out of bounds at the 47-yard line.
Kozar's really one of the bright young quarterbacks. One of the things you like about him, in spite of his limitations about not moving around, is he is very smart. Always seems to be able to throw the ball to the right receiver, and in a 2-minute drill, tests a quarterback's decision-making more than just about any part of the game.
Well, let's see how he handles this now with 37 seconds to go. 91 yards on 6 of 9.
Got 2 timeouts, plenty of time to get themselves in shape for a field goal.
And a 2nd and 1. Not much of a rush. Catch is made by Clarence Weathers, his first catch of the year. Now, will they give him forward progress? I think they're going to, and if so, it's a first down. Yes. That is the first catch of 1986 for Clarence Weathers. And they go without a huddle with 17 seconds to go. Into the flat for Biner. I don't think the crowd's going to like that call at all. 10 seconds left. But I looked downfield, Pat, and there was nobody open down around the 30.
Well, there was a prevent defense, obviously, by Detroit. And still, with 10 seconds left and a timeout, they have a chance to get the ball downfield, call a timeout, and at least attempt a field goal.
Matt Bahr is not the longest field goal kicker.
His longest this year, I think, is 45 yards.
Said they feel comfortable from 47 on in with him. Kozar lets it go, man. Is open and it's dropped. Langhorne would have had time to make the catch and call timeout. And 2 seconds remain.
Actually, I think he would have caught the ball and the clock would have run out unless he could have scored. It was actually, Kozar had to get rid of this ball quickly and then call the timeout. But it's a deep drop, which really surprises me. But he does a nice job of stepping up into the pocket. Langhorne, a receiver they're high on, I think he's just so concerned about either getting out of bounds or having his clock stop, and he took his eye off the ball.
Let me tell you something that you may have known I didn't. A receiver, if he makes the catch in that circumstance, can holler at the official, "I'm down," and call time. He doesn't have to be tackled.
You think he would have remembered that?
No, not a chance. 3rd down. Final play, here's Big Ben. Webster Slaughter. Almost caught. Oh, was that close? It wasn't, though. That's the end of the first half with our score, Detroit 7 and Cleveland 7.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. STP, makers of STP oil treatment. We've got what it takes to perform. And by Hewlett-Packard, the people who turn your business computing problem into a business computing solution. CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Subaru, inexpensive and built to stay that way. IBM. And by RCA, technology that excites the senses.
We're back at Cleveland Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. At halftime, the Browns and the Detroit Lions tied up at 7-7, but it almost was a 14-7 game in favor of Cleveland. With 2 seconds to go in the first half, Bernie Kosar drifted back, and Pat Hayden tried the Big Ben toss.
And it almost was caught by Reggie Langhorne, number 88. You're going to see him trailing the play, which is right in the position that you want to be. The first receiver wants to pop the ball up, which what happens, and then Langhorne almost makes the catch.
Nevertheless, it fell short, and as a result of that incompleted pass, we are tied, as we said, 7-7. In the first half, I think one of the stories has been for the Lions their lack of turnovers thus far.
Well, they had 5 a week ago, none in the first half. And remember, some of it has to do with protection, because Eric Hipple fumbled 3 times last week after he was being hit, but that has been the difference. That's why Detroit is in the ball game, because Cleveland is really the better team.
No turnovers so far, and Eric Hipple on a real hot streak. He hit 13 of 14 at one point, wound up with only 3 incompleted passes, and tossed his first touchdown pass of the year when he found Leonard Thompson on the perfect timing play.
This was absolutely perfect time, and this was a fake kind of a deep pass, a fake fade pass as they call it, but then Thompson turned right around, and that ball was beautifully timed right in the numbers. Thompson couldn't do anything else but catch it.
Well, that tied it up at 7-7. At the outset, we thought one of the problems Cleveland had was their defense against the rush. Turns out it's not the offense or the defense, it's the offense having problems.
The offense has not rushed the ball well here in the first half at all. As you can see, only 13 yards. And I think, Vern, some of this, again, is that offensive philosophy. I don't think those offensive linemen really feel physical, and that's what you need to have a good running game. You need to get in there and punch people, mash people time after time again.
143 yards per game a year ago, 80 so far this year, and only 13 in the first half. That will be of some concern to Marty Schottenheimer. And we are set to go just about with the second half now, a 7-7 game. The Cleveland Browns trying to go 1-2. And Darrell Rogers' team also trying to go 1-2. Interesting what Darrell Rogers told you last night about dividing this season into 2 halves.
Well, he wanted to finish at least 3-3 the first 6 games, and he said that because his team is so injured. He feels that he is really playing with a short deck, having so many injuries in the offensive line. If he can get through those first 6 games with at least a 3-3 record, he feels at that point he's going to have people healthy. He thinks his offense is really going to come around in those last 10 games. If they can win 7 of those, they can be in the playoffs.
Browns will return to open the second half. Gerald McNeil near the 10. And the Tiny Mite is out to the 25-yard line.
You know, I think one of the things the Browns have to do here, Vern, is get the ball downfield to the wide receivers. Lindy Infante, of course, we've talked about him spreading the players around, but we've seen Kosar really just kind of dink the ball around. I think 9 of his completions were to backs in the first half. They finally have those wideouts with Langhorne and Slaughter with some speed, but they're not giving them the opportunity to catch the ball.
They have a first down at the 25. Score tied at 7-7. Gorgeous day in Cleveland, Ohio. Temperature of 75 degrees. Ernest Miner, no yards on 5 carries in the first half. Kosar, quick screen. Langhorne. Blockers in front. Curtis Dickey tries to get the block on McNorton. And McNorton does a good job of shielding himself from that block and helping out on the tackle with Michael Cofer.
Reggie Langhorne is one of those fellows that Marty Schottenheimer was telling us didn't look fast, but he actually ran 4.3 in the 40-yard dash for them. And again, he's going to hopefully do a large part for their offense, taking the pressure off the tight end position and to get the ball downfield to their outside receivers.
Second down and 4 for the Browns. Biner again, the only setback. Fontenot is wide to the right. Herman Fontenot. Blitz coming. Kosar not too quick. And Keith Ferguson gets his first sack of the day.
Now, this has really been the knock on Bernie Kosar's not being able to avoid a rush. Although in the first half he did step away from the rush a couple of times. Here, it's well defended is really the problem. Give the Detroit defense some credit. There's nowhere for him to go, and that gave Ferguson some time to get there.
That'll bring up a 3rd down and 8. Talked to Art Modell, the Cleveland owner, before the game. He said, Kosar, I love him. He's a great kid, but what's going to make Testaverde ultimately a better quarterback than Bernie is just that, his mobility.
I may debate you on that.
Okay. 3rd and 8. Oh, dear. John Bostic, number 42, almost picked it off. It'll be a 4th down.
Can I amend my statement? There was a great reaction there by John Bostic. The defensive backs for the Detroit Lions really have very good acceleration. They break on the ball just about as well as anybody in the league. Bostic is right there in the middle of your screen, is trailing Brennan, the receiver. The ball thrown behind Brennan, but he really made a nice break on it, a nice play defensively.
And that brings on Jeff Gossett, who never in his career, either at Eastern Illinois or with a variety of pro teams, has had a punt block. Still hasn't. And that's a dandy. That'll quiet the critics. Manley at the 23. Down to the 29. Mark Harper was one of those. And D.D. Hoggard, number 48, a 50-yard punt. 6 on the return. 14 minutes to go in the third quarter. And Detroit has the ball.
It's your money, son. But if you want my advice, buy another Subaru.
Sure, Dad.
I thought we agreed you'd buy a Subaru.
But, Dad, I did.
The Subaru XT, the Sport Magazine Super Bowl MVP award.
Who has transformed video cameras, making them more compact, simpler, more colorful, more fun? Who? RCA, with the new Pro Wonder camcorder, the camera and recorder that use a standard VHS cassettes plus solid-state technology for brighter, more colorful memories. Pro Wonder. If you settle for less than RCA, that's exactly what you'll get.
Draft beer. It's always been the smoothest, freshest beer around, poured straight from the tap. And now there's a true draft beer in a bottle. Miller Genuine Draft. It's not heat pasteurized like most bottled beers. It's cold filtered for real draft smoothness. Miller Genuine Draft. It's beer at its best.
Number 1 draft choice of the Lions, Chuck Long out of the University of Iowa. Won't see action today unless there are 2 injuries, but just a year ago, he was the great quarterback of Hayden Fry's Iowa Hawkeyes. Remember this fake play and touchdown against Michigan State? Michigan State fell to Iowa 35-31. Well, next week, you're going to have a chance to see the rematch as the 15th-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes with Mark Vlasic now as the quarterback of the Hawkeyes take on Michigan State and Lorenzo White. That's live at 2:30 Eastern Time next Saturday on CBS.
Well, Vlasic threw for 2 touchdowns yesterday. Long's replacement.
Meanwhile, Eric Hipple has the job as quarterback of the Lions, broken nose and all. Oh, he's a blue-collar quarterback. First down, 10 from the 29. That's going to be, I believe, offside against Cleveland or encroachment. Reggie Camp made contact, number 96.
Encroachment. Defense. Number 96. First down.
Okay, we got 2 hours to find the difference in offside and encroachment.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was a nice job by Hipple in that he set that up because in the first half he was going on an early count. There he comes out in the first play here. Long count, drew them offside for the easy 5 yards.
Avoided just like an attorney. Oh, you're going to have a prosperous career in law.
Where'd you get my bill?
First and 5. Right side, James Jones for a couple. And Reggie Camp, number 96, makes the tackle. You had a long talk with Darryl Rogers. They're getting back to the long story. They're, you know, the "we want long" cries going up in the Silverdome. It bothers Eric Hipple, but he says he understands. Rogers says he's not going to play long this year unless he absolutely has to.
And I think he's going to bring them along very slowly, and that's what you need to do. Again, we've talked about the offensive line, how they're struggling right now, a lot of injuries. The worst thing you can do for a high draft pick and a quarterback is to bring him along too quickly against with a team, an offensive line that's going to get him hurt, and he's going to lose his confidence.
Second down and 1, 7-7 ball game. Jones, close, don't know.
And also, I happen to think that Eric Hipple is a very good quarterback. Now, people in most NFL cities get tired of the quarterbacks, unhappy with the quarterbacks, but you have to remember, Vern, there really only are probably four great quarterbacks in the game today with Marino and Fouts, and Montana is injured. But So the rest of them, everybody gets compared to those guys, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. That's what makes those guys great. The other one is Elway I was thinking of, but that's what makes those guys so great. I think he is going to have a very bright future in the NFL. Compare his situation with Jimmy Everett out at the Rams, who just signed with the Rams. Now, Everett can play this year because he's on a very good football team, the Rams. He can step into that lineup maybe 6 or 7 weeks from now with a great offensive line, not lose his confidence, hand the ball to Eric Dickerson, dink a couple of passes, and they can bring him along slowly, but while they're doing so, he can be playing.
I think history is filled with shell-shocked potential superstars.
Steve Bartkowski is one of the best college quarterbacks I saw coming out of college football, but was beaten up in Atlanta his first 5 years in the league.
Good point. First down, as you saw for Detroit, 12:50 to go third quarter. 2 wide receivers right side. Hipple keeps it on the ground. And a flag is down. So is James Jones. Reggie Camp, number 96, was the first one there, and Jones lost his helmet.
But you can see there is just nowhere for James Jones to go. This fellow can be a factor in the game if the offensive line can just give him a little bit of a crease. But Darryl Rogers was so concerned about his offensive line that they aren't be able to knock people off the ball.
Face mask. Defense, number 96, 5 yards, replay the down, first down.
That Jones doesn't have anywhere to go. There's no creases there in the Cleveland defensive front, and this is considering that the Cleveland defense has been really vulnerable to the run this year.
6 penalties against the Browns now for 40 yards, and 3 of those penalties have come on this current drive. Now, officials have called timeout while they reset the chain marker. They had moved it prematurely. That's what happened. Of the 3 on the chain gang, 1 had jumped the gun, but the other 2 had stood their ground. So there won't be much of a problem marking where it's supposed to be. That's funny. That's an often overlooked aspect of this game, but those guys have to coordinate what they do on the sideline, the chain gang. There are the 3 of them.
It's interesting how actually the chain markers and things have evolved, just like the equipment in the NFL has evolved over the years. Remember, Bubba Smith was injured hitting a chain marker years ago, and since that point, they've really tried to make them a lot safer. They've taken away the big stakes, and they've put some padding on them.
Unusual. First down and 3 after the 5-yard penalty. A 2-yard gain. Here's Jones going left. Will not get the first down as he nears midfield. Clay Matthews, number 57. Harvey Salem, number 73, quite a story. Held out, paid a $56,000 fine to the Oilers, then got traded.
It is deductible, though. Number 73, right there in the middle of your screen. He is 6'6", 285 pounds. Now, remember, he is naturally a tackle. He's played very little offensive guard. But this is nice for him. See the way he came off the ball there and knocked at least Griggs initially back, but fell off him. He's used to having someone right on his nose. That's a little bit unusual for him. That's why he probably fell off the block.
Salem's holdout was generated by his desire to play for a West Coast team.
Didn't quite make it. Tough today, too, because Detroit is using so many audibles.
Second down and 1. Play fake. Hipple looks deep. Man coverage. Good job by Hanford Dixon.
You know, Hanford Dixon's had an amazing statistic this year. No receiver has caught a pass for over 10 yards on Hanford Dixon. I was talking to Jerry Glanville, who said these corners are the best bump and run corners other than the Raiders in the league. Play action fake, which was when you're running Jones so much, should be effective. The ball is underthrown, which is usually a good strategy on a deep pass, but Hanford Dixon was right there to make a beautiful play. Well positioned.
That brings up a 3rd and 1 from the 49 with 11:24 to go third quarter. Detroit 4 of 7 in converting third down so far. 7-7 ball game. Good defensive unit. I think all of that worked. Now, that is a first down, but that's still a good defensive charge.
Again, and this is the thing they spent so much time on the last 9 days, the Cleveland Browns, and Dave Adolph, their defensive coordinator, was getting themselves in the gaps, because Cincinnati Bengals and Kennebrew, the big fullback, was so successful against them on the short yard situations. Remember, they had a 1st and 3 there, too, didn't they? It took them a while to get to 3 yards.
That'll be a first down and 10. 10:55 to go third quarter. Eric Hipple is 13 of 17, has missed his only pass so far in this half. He's kept it on the ground the first 5 minutes. 4-man rush. Pretty good protection. Nice catch by James Jones. They're going to bring it back. There are 2 flags in the backfield. Gary James has his hands on his hips, and I bet you anything he's going to get called for holding, number 32.
Well, he was the man who missed a couple of blitzes last week, which got himself into the doghouse. You know whose name we haven't really called here, Vern, is David Lewis, the tight end, too, of the Lions. He's a man that you really want to have your tight end involved in the game, so it takes some of the pressure off the wide receivers. But David Lewis has not been involved in this game at all.
Holding, offense, number 32, replay the down, first down.
That'll make it first down and 20. There's David Lewis, once a #1 draft choice out of the University of California.
Well, we've talked a little bit about the tight end position. He has all the attributes you're looking for. He is a big fellow who can block, who can get downfield. What he has lacked in his career with the Lions is consistency. But this is, I think, a do-or-die year for David Lewis. If he doesn't do something this year, his career may well be over.
First down and 20 after the 4th penalty of the game against the Detroit Lions. 3-man rush by Detroit this time. Hipple goes deep down the middle. There's a shove and no flag. Oh, I don't know. Chris Rockins was defending.
Chris Rockins, of course, the man is replacing Don Rogers. The center fielder, he's right in the left part of the screen. Hipple is looking right all the way, and that allowed Chris Rockins to come back and make the play. The right hand was what looked like he bumped the receiver with his right hand.
And Rockins was looking back toward the ball, which under the liberalized interference rules the last couple of years would negate any potential for pass interference. He was looking back at the ball.
But that was a good play by Rockins. You saw when his initial drop, he dropped to the right half part of the field, but he read Hipple's eyes and then got back over to the other side of the field to make a play.
Second down and 20, 7-7 ball game, 10-11 to go, third quarter. 4-man rush. Hipple, that ball is tipped and almost picked off by Chip Banks. Intended for James Jones.
Chip Banks is one of the great athletes who play in the linebacker position in the NFL. Remember, he is 6'4", he's 233 pounds, and he can run like a deer. A zone nickel defense here. The ball was tipped and thrown behind, and that's why Banks really had a chance to make a play, but it was just a little bit, it would have been a great catch by Banks. The holdout Chip Banks was this year, wanted to play more third down situations.
And he's in on 3rd and 20. 7-7 game, 10:04 to go, third quarter. Browns haven't blitzed much today. Might be coming now. No, they're not. James Jones. It'll be 4th down and 15. Chris Rockins, number 37, made the tackle.
That was really more of a man-to-man type of pass, but on 3rd and 20, you're not going to get man-to-man. You're going to get a zone. The idea, of course, was to get the ball to Jones. Hopefully he could break a couple of tackles and maybe pick up 10 yards, perhaps the first down, but I don't think it's a tough call against a zone defense.
Now, the big play in the series, Pat, was the holding call on Gary James. Made a 1st and 10 as 1st and 20. And as a result, the Lions will have to punt. Mike Black is on to kick deep. Gerald McNeil waits for it inside the 15. Short kick. Watch out. Say goodbye. The injured reserve quarterback, Bob Golick, who outweighs McNeil by 120 pounds.
Well, for the second week in a row, the special team scored a touchdown.
Right, Felix Wright had blocked a punt last week. Bahr's kick gives the Browns a 14-7 lead, and they have had the ball in this half for 1 minute and 13 seconds.
You know, again, we talked about this so many times already today that McNeil, some point this season, was going to return a punt or a kickoff for a big play. This is it. Now, this is what a team needs. A special teams plays a third of a football game every Sunday afternoon. They have to make big plays, and special teams should win 2 ball games a year for you. The Cleveland Browns special teams the last 2 weeks have put some points on the board.
5'7", 146 pounds. That's an 84-yard punt return by the tiny one from Baylor, Gerald McNeil.
Heart surgery. To perform it, doctors need vital information. At an IBM scientific center in England, computer researchers and doctors are transforming X-rays into 3-dimensional models of a patient's arteries and beating heart. This experimental project is an example of innovation at IBM, and it could be another way computers help doctors save lives.
When the big Q flows, America goes.
You there, Mr. Bailey, that's selling the car?
You buying?
Depends. How's it run?
Great. Always on Quaker State.
That's good.
Quaker State means performance. You could depend on quality.
I've heard that.
One-of-a-kind formula. Stable viscosity. Keeps flowing. Protecting.
You sold me.
The core?
And the oil.
Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
You always hurt the one you love.
People have a love-hate relationship with their cars. They love them, but they don't always treat them right. Yet amazingly, over 90% of all Subarus registered since 1974 are still on the road. Now imagine how much longer they would last if people didn't love them so much. Subaru, inexpensive and built to stay that way.
When the Spartans rock, Lorenzo rolls. Lorenzo White continues on his run for the Heisman when Michigan State hosts the Hawkeyes of Iowa next Saturday on CBS Sports.
We're back in Cleveland where this crowd is still buzzing. Herman Hunter takes the kickoff return and heads left. There was a near clip, but no flag is down. And Hunter is out across the 30 to the 33. That'll quiet the crowd somewhat. But there is the man who is now the possessor of the longest punt return in Cleveland Brown history. The old record was 78 yards, set in 1959 by Bobby Mitchell.
Did you do that game too? You know, all these guys in the Cleveland team yesterday recognized you. A lot of guys come up to you and said, Vern, oh, I remember you when I was a little boy back in Dallas.
Ah, yeah. That's the onset of middle age, Patrick. Too many road trips. 9:26 to go. In the third quarter, 14-7. Carl Bland starts in motion. Hipple to James Jones. Up the sidelines and out of bounds. A dandy little bit of tightrope dancing. We're live in Cleveland, Ohio. Vern Lundquist and Pat Hayden before 75,000 who have suddenly found cause to roar. And the Browns are out on top. 14-7 after the 84-yard touchdown run by Gerald McNeil. We were at 7-7 at halftime. Tough to fight a noisy crowd on the road, Pat, isn't it?
Well, the best thing they did was return the kickoff back in decent field position. Now they got a second and short. They pick up a couple of first downs, and they'll be right back in, and the crowd will quiet down.
James Jones bounces off one, gets a good block from Manley, and has a first down at the 47-yard line. One of those tiny things that sometimes go unnoticed, but Pete Manley, the wide receiver, made a good downfield block.
You know, that makes up a very good point, because when you're going to take another look here at James Jones. Manley is number 82, who's going to pick up the block. But there's a second and short yardage. Now, Detroit has not run the ball well yet today, but the defense, perhaps trying to get so pumped up after the big punt return, overreacted, and it gave James Jones a little bit of daylight to move.
Kevin Glover is the injured player for the Lions. They don't need to have more problems in the offensive line, but they do.
Really, guys, that was a brand new engine.
Oh, yeah, sure. I never saw an engine start like that.
I paddle my arms off. Come on, it's good exercise.
Hey, you remember the cake those guys had?
Yeah, that was good draft beer. Yeah, that beer was terrific.
When you drink a new Miller Genuine Draft, it'll remind you of the best beer you ever had, because it is Genuine Draft. Cold filtered for real draft smoothness. Miller Genuine Draft. It's beer at its best.
Some new engine. Can we change the subject, guys?
I want to talk to you about something that could change your life. Insurance. This is a policy from one of the world's biggest insurance specialists. For almost any kind of insurance, because you just never know when you're going to need insurance. Excuse me. Hey, you big ape! You know who has to pay for this mess?
Transamerica, for insurance and financial services, the power of the pyramid is working for you. Ever since things have been made out of metal, there's been rust. And the way to fight rust is with Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum renews. Rust-Oleum restores. Rust-Oleum makes things look good longer. No ordinary paint can match its durability, because no ordinary paint has Rust-Oleum's unique protective barrier. Nobody fights rust like Rust-Oleum.
Herschel Walker and the Cowboys' back attack are going to taste Denver's deadly Orange Crush. Doubleheader action starts with the NFL Today next Sunday on CBS Sports.
9:07 remaining third quarter. That is Kevin Glover, who's out of the ball game with an injury, and Scott Barrows, number 61, has taken his place. Problems for the offensive line. The changing of the guards. Last year they lost Greco, Dietrich, and Jones. This year they have already gotten Dietrich and Dorney on the injured reserve list. Now Glover is out, and that's been the weak spot of that offensive line for Detroit. Nevertheless, it's a first down and 10, Detroit. Here's Jones on the toss play, coming to the right side. He picks up a couple. Anthony Griggs, number 53, made the tackle.
For the Cleveland Brown linebackers are really a talented group. Chip Banks made an awfully nice play, fought off a block to get in that. And Anthony Griggs, we've seen him both make some outstanding stops on the run as well as defending the pass in the first half. Well, I've been impressed with this Cleveland linebacking corps.
That brings up a second down and 9, gain of 1 in the last play. Hipple, 15 of 21, hasn't been nearly as effective early in the second half as he was in the first. That's a good pass across the middle, but is short of the first down at the 42-yard line. And it'll bring up about a 3rd and 3 or 4.
Again, a second and down and 8 or 9 situation or a first down situation is the perfect time to be able to use your tight end. It's an easy target. The tight end is always right out in front of you, usually the closest receiver to you. Easy throw, but David Lewis still has not been involved in the passing attack.
Who do you think is the prototypical tight end playing right now?
Right now, it was Kellen Winslow before his injury. But Ty Christensen's been all-pro the last couple of years. He's one of the throwbacks, too, because he's kind of a big physical guy, not the speed downfield receiver.
3rd and 4, 14-7, Lions trail. 4 or 5-man rush. Hipple, sack. That is only the 3rd sack this season for the Cleveland Browns. And Carl Hairston got it.
Eric Hipple, who has a very long history of being able to avoid sacks and get out of the pocket, but too much pressure here. Carl Hairston just bowled his way right over the offensive lineman there, and I believe that was Scott Barrows he came over.
There's Carl Hairston, 3rd sack this year for the Cleveland Browns. Gerald McNeil back to return the punt of Mike Black. He just counter-punched one 84 yards. High kick. McNeil has time to return it from the 11. And is popped as he gets to the 17. Interesting, Pat. As he came out to return the punt, the crazies in the end zone started giving him a standing ovation, and O'Neal turned around and waved at him. I think they've got a new somebody to cheer for.
Bernie Kosar is the guy who used to sneak in the stadium, he told us just yesterday, toward the end of the stands here, the young kid. And I thought it was funny. We asked him who he snuck in, who the quarterback was, kind of expecting to hear, I don't know, Otto Graham or Bill Nelson or somebody like that. And he told us it was Brian Sipe was the guy that he snuck in to see.
Used to sneak in as a boy right there. Yeah, that further made me feel old.
It surprised me when he said Sipe.
Kevin Mack is not on the bench nor in the backfield. Shoulder injury, we are told. Here's Curtis Dickey in his place, trying to go laterally, and is bopped by Galloway. Dwayne Galloway from Arizona State.
Well, that play took way too long to develop, and Ricky Bolden, number 77, the left tackle, was out in front of them, but the offensive linemen have got to make their decisions a little bit earlier and allow the running back to make a cut.
How do you like your upsets?
That is really an amazing score there.
Minnesota over Green Bay, and the 49ers leading Miami. Chicago with a comfortable lead over Cincinnati. Second down and 13. 10 yards on the ground for Cleveland in the game. 10. Bahr across the middle, and there is Ozzie Newsome's first catch of the day and the 102nd game in which he has caught a pass. Listen to the crowd roar.
You can see him come up limping, too.
The ankle injury and the shoulder, and he'll come out now. Webster Slaughter comes to the near side. Third down and 3 with 5:33 to go, third quarter. 14-7. Bahr has to call timeout. There have been some sloppy elements to this Brown attack so far. Well, Newsome is now at 102 games. Harold Carmichael and Steve Largent did catch a pass against the Redskins today, which ties him with Carmichael. Longest streak ever. Gray, Abramowitz, and Jenkins out of the game, of course. Newsome said, yes, the streak does mean something to him, but it means more. It means something to the city of Cleveland.
Well, also, I think it's more amazing for a tight end to have a streak like that, because it's so much more a physical position. You're getting beat up by linebackers and defensive ends and such. It's harder, I think, for a tight end. And also because tight ends generally are not the primary receivers in passing attacks.
That's also the 403rd time he has handled the football without fumbling.
That is another incredible statistic for me. Not missed a game since high school. Has played through an awful lot of injuries, which you have to do in this league. A nice guy.
Well, it goes back to the point you've been developing throughout the game about the need for a good tight end and how that really is something amazing. 102 consecutive games. Houston leading Pittsburgh 10-3. Steelers scored.
But it's such a safe pass for a quarterback to the tight end. Like I say, you always like to use them on maybe a first down or a 3rd and 3 or 4. And Newsome's a big target.
3rd and 3 right now. Cleveland leading Detroit. The margin of difference, an 84-yard punt return by Gerald McNeil. Bahr 13 of 20 for 110 yards, no touchdowns. Into the flat, Fontenot. Flags are down in 2 locations. Fontenot is finally down at the 45. Devon Mitchell and Dwayne Galloway made the tackle.
That might have been a pick play. Offensive interference, what they're calling. You see that an awful lot on 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4. Bill Walsh did this for years in San Francisco. Still doing it, is running a lot of pick plays.
Oh, that's illegal, though, Pat.
They still do it, believe me.
Well, you don't see it called very often. See if they just call interference or the pick play.
Offensive pass interference. Offense. Number 44 declined. Offensive pass interference. Number 88. Replay the down. 3rd down.
Cut him. Cut 2 of them. Biner or Langhorne.
Number 88, top of your screen there, he was also called for interference, but it's man-to-man defense, and what a lot of teams like to do is run the pick. This is just a matter of a push. I didn't think that was an offensive pass interference there on Langhorne myself.
Well, we couldn't see Biner in that replay, but they did call that on Reggie Langhorne, so that makes it 3rd down and 14 from the 14 in a 7-point ball game. 7-point difference right now. Bahr deep across the middle, tipped, incomplete at the 40-yard line. Devon Mitchell, number 31 of the Lions, racing after it, but couldn't get there.
One of the few times we've seen the Cleveland offense get the ball downfield. Now, we talked about how Cleveland stretches the field horizontally. I think they're going to have to incorporate a little bit more vertical attack, get the ball downfield, because they're not picking up anything there on 1st down on those short passes to the backs. They're still coming up with 2nd and 8 and 2nd and 9s.
Jeff Gossett to kick away to Pete Manley. That'll be returned. No, it won't. But even despite the muff, the Lions come up with good field position at the 48-yard line.
Now, what's the difference between the muff and the fumble again?
There's no possession involved. It just goes through your hands. I learned that a long time ago.
Here's a good example of the muff right here, Manley. He was very calm about this after this.
You know what? You can't advance a muff.